Good afternoon and welcome to the Elmwood Student Support Live event. My name is Caroline Manzi. I'm the Marketing and Student Recruitment Officer at the Elmwood campus. And today I'm joined by 4 of my colleagues who are going to introduce themselves shortly, tell you a little bit about what they do and what their job involves. And while that's going on, I know some of you have already been in touch. There's a little Q&A box, so please feel free to get in touch during this afternoon's event with any questions that you have, and we'll try our very best to answer them this afternoon. So I'm now going to pass you over to Nikki to introduce herself.
Hi there, I'm Nikki and I work in the student support team at Elmwood. So it's my job to support students with their academic work, and that involves things like helping students prepare for assessments, helping them to work on coursework. Sometimes it's as simple as just helping a student understand what it is they've maybe been asked to do by a tutor. Other times it might be helping students learn how to improve things like their academic writing. It could be helping with things like referencing. Sometimes all that a student needs is a little bit of advice on techniques that they can use for revision, research, time management, that kind of thing. It really doesn't matter how big or small you think your problem is, it's always worth asking for a little bit of help if you need it. I also support students who have specific learning difficulties, things like dyslexia or dyscalculia. So if that sounds like you should really make sure you get in contact with either myself or my colleague Kirsty, and we can give some support to you with your studies. We can talk to you about alternative assessment arrangements. So maybe you've had a scribe or extra time or something for exams in school, and you just want to make sure that that same support continues while you're at college. If that's the case, speak to one of us. If you think you might be dyslexic but you've never been tested, then ask us about doing a dyslexia screening. As long as you've got access to a computer and the internet, you don't even really need to come into college to be tested. We can do that remotely. You don't need to have a learning difficulty to get support. Our support services are open to everyone, and I would encourage you all to make contact with us as soon as you feel like you're struggling. Don't leave it to see if it gets a little bit easier over time. Just send us a quick email or pick up the phone and we'll do our best to help in any way that we can. That's all from me just now. I'm going to pass you on to my colleague Kirsty.
Thanks, Nikki. Hi, I'm Kirsty, and as Nikki said, I work alongside her supporting students with their academic work, but I also support students with their health and well-being alongside Nicola and Sam, who you'll meet shortly. Our job is to make sure that any student who needs any kind of help or adjustment gets the support that they need. We might be able to help ourselves, and if not, we'll always do what we can to make sure you're put in touch with the best person, either within SRUC or in the local community. Where needed, and with your permission, we will share information agreed with your tutor so they can make adjustments needed for your coursework and be aware of any specific requirements you have, such as ensuring you're near the front of the class and can directly see staff giving out verbal instruction because you've told us that you have a hearing impairment and you've asked for this. It may be allowing you to leave class without being questioned due to health reasons, or not asking you to speak in front of the class without prior warning or practice. The college is on 3 floors and we have a lift. To use the lift, you should have been given a lift pass. Lift passes are available for students who have a genuine reason for using the lift. These can be seen or unseen. If you think you may need a lift pass, speak to Nicola or myself and we can have a chat and arrange a lift pass if it's required. This has always been in place, but I know that many students and staff, myself included, would just rather use the lift than the stairs. With the restrictions in place for social distancing, the lift will not be used unless absolutely necessary, so it's important you do come and speak to us if you think that this will impact on you. And if you're someone who used to just jump in the lift because it was easier, you'll need to allow yourself extra time to go up the stairs. If there's anything you're worried about or is having an impact on your college experience, let us know. This may be now or at some point throughout your college year. We're here if and when you need us. Sometimes when you're worrying about something, it builds and becomes something you feel can't be sorted. It's sometimes easier to try and ignore the issue and hope it goes away or sorts itself out. As hard as that is, we find talking to someone helps, and we can usually help find a solution, taking the worry away so you can concentrate on your studies and enjoy college life. You might tell your tutor something that they feel we should know about or be able to help you with, or your tutor might pick up that something isn't quite right and ask you to get in touch with us. Something that could prompt this would be if you're continually late for class, struggling to hand work in on time, or becoming upset in class. This isn't anything to worry about, it's just people looking out for you. If we know there's things going on in your life that impact on your college day, we can put things in place to help. These could be things such as health issues that impact on how you're feeling throughout the day, or if you're a carer who needs time to support the person you care for, or things like the recent changes made for dropping off children at primary school. It might be that your allocated time's now 9:10, so you're going to struggle to be available for class at 9 o'clock. We can put in place things to help this. If you had help or support at school, other colleges or university, or are working with somebody in the community that you'd like to link us in with, then just let us know. We can arrange to meet with them and share information to best help you. How can you speak to us? Those of you who've been to Elmwood before will be used to all of us being in the support office or the study centre. Due to COVID and the restrictions on the amount of people allowed on campus, we've had to change the way we work. If you're due on campus to carry out practical work, one of us will be available in the study centre from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock Monday to Friday. The rest of us will be available online where we can speak to you by phone or using Teams, just like this. Even on days where we are on campus, this will be for short, face-to-face informal discussions and only really dealing with things that come up on the day or coming in to arrange appointments at a later date. Any other meetings or support required will be provided online through Teams or Moodle. If you're not on campus, you can email the support email address or one of us individually. You can also phone us on our usual college numbers. We're happy to phone you back to save your phone bill. As well as being available for one-to-one appointments as usual, although online, we will be running online drop-in sessions for education and pastoral support. We'll let you know when these are happening and how to access them during your induction. But these will be during the day and in some evenings. Even though we'll be working differently to what you and we are used to, we will do all we can to make sure you feel comfortable and can access the same support you would if we were all on campus. When we're finished today, we'll give you our email address so you can get in touch with us if you need to. Now I'll pass you over to Nicola.
Hi, I'm Nicola. I'm part of the student support team at Elmwood. So this is the second of our live events, and we can share a little bit more information with things like start dates, funding, online enrolment this time. Some of you might have had calls from the team already regarding additional support needs. If we haven't reached you yet, then we're working through the information that we have in so far. If you've not had a chance yet to let us know about your additional support need, maybe you didn't include that on your application form, as part of the enrolment details, there's an opportunity to share this information with us, and that's via the student support assessment form. It's just a few questions online and then the details are directed to our team. As we'd mentioned in the last event, we would usually be speaking to you face-to-face, either at the college or an open night. So this has been a new way of working for us. It does take a bit of time to get used to working in this way, and we know that it might feel a bit strange for you, but please try not to worry. It does get easier and we're all learning each day. So some examples as to why students might come to us for support. These could be things such as physical and mental well-being, adjustments and support, sexual health, course issues, personal issues, finances, budgeting. There's a whole range of reasons why people come to see us. And Nikki, Kirsten, with experiencing difficulties in one area of their life, then it can impact on all the other areas. So we want to ensure that your support is holistic and you get the best out of your student experience and you succeed in your studies. If you feel there isn't anything in particular at the moment that you need in, then that's fine. But please remember you can contact us at any point throughout the year if things change. The key message from us all today is contact us and have a chat if there's anything that you'd like to discuss about your personal situation. So at the start, I just mentioned some of the key information. You should have received this through already. It should have come through in emails, but if you haven't, it's worth checking in your junk folder because I know some students have fed that back to us that it's gone into junk rather than inboxes. But online induction will be the week commencing the 21st of September. The college term starts the week commencing the 28th of September. And you'll likely have heard the term blended learning in some of the SRUC communications. But if you haven't or you're unsure what that means, it basically means that instead of being in college in full-time classes for like theory and practical, you'll work in smaller groups on the campus for practical sessions, and then the theory will be at home and completed online. For anyone who feels that they might have IT issues to access the online learning, there's a section in the enrolment details that talks about digital requirements, and there's an IT resource form. If you complete that online, and then that will be passed to our IT team. Funding applications. So if you are joining us and you're going to be on one of our FE courses, then you'll apply through SRUC. So this would be for courses that are NC level, SVQ, or the level 1, level 2 cookery courses. You should have received an email and that should have been sent through with an online funding application. If for any reason you haven't received that, then you can link in with the mailbox that Kirsty will put up at the end, and we can forward on to the relevant team. For our HNC level courses and above, you need to make your application via the Students Award Agency Scotland, and that's referred to as SAS. So their website is www.sas.gov.uk. The funding process for SAS can take a few months, so it's recommended that you complete this as soon as possible. So that's all from me, and I'll hand over to Sam.
Hello, my name's Sam. And I'll be offering confidential one-to-one support for students in the form of counselling sessions. So what this means is you can book appointments with myself should you feel like you need a private, safe environment to talk about any thoughts or feelings that you've been carrying that have been affecting or troubling you. So my role is just to offer you my uninterrupted attention, to listen to your interpretations, your experiences without any judgment or pressure. So I'm not there to enforce any expertise or overwhelm you with any sort of directive instructions or opinions. I'm just there as an equal human being to be fully present for you in that moment and to help you navigate and identify your thoughts and concerns. It may be that you just need a place to vent or verbalise or release any frustrations and sensations that have, that you've been harbouring that have become a burden for you. I'm not going to be there to question you or scrutinise you. I'm just there to facilitate a place where you're able to express your emotions freely without any criticism. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter how sort of insignificant you think that your issues are. If they're causing you discomfort, stress or anxiety in any form, then it's important to me. And I would be very ready and willing to hear what you want to say or what you need to say. I'll always strive to be empathic, which means I will always try and hear and understand your experiences from your personal vantage point, so from your point of view. If it becomes apparent that you need further support of a more specific and practical nature, so whether it be related to your educational needs or further support relating to your health and well-being, then should you clearly and explicitly give me permission and consent, then I can pass on any relevant information to Nikki, Kirsty or Nicola to ensure that you've got the best chance of getting the right help and guidance.
That's great. Thanks, Sam. Thanks to the team there. I hope you found that useful and gives you a wee overview of what our staff can help you with at Elmwood. Thank you to everyone who's got in touch so far with questions. I'm just going to crack on because there's so many coming through. The first one is here from Anna. Thanks for getting in touch. When should we hear about our funding? I've still not heard anything. Nicola?
Hi, Anna. As I mentioned, if it depends on which level of course you're studying. So if you're studying an NC level course, you should have received an email through from the college with a link that directs you then to complete your funding online. If you haven't received that, when Kirsty puts the mailbox up at the end, if you just drop us a wee mail through there, and then we can follow that up with funding to make sure it's resent to you. If it's a HNC course that you're studying, then that would be via SAS, and that was the www.sas.gov.uk that you would need to make your application to, and that's external to SRUC. Hope that answers the question.
Great, thank you. The next one I've got through is, do we get any help or support getting the right equipment to work from home, as I've been struggling to get myself a laptop? Nicholas, would you be able to help with that one?
Yeah, certainly. I hope, again, that was answered during the details that I gave there. The online, as part of the enrolment, there is an IT resource form. So if you go into the enrolment section and look there, there's an IT resource form. If you complete that, and that will be shared with our IT team, who can then make contact with you regarding any barriers or anything that you might have with IT.
That's great, thank you. I've got an induction question now. What is the plan for induction week? Will it be happening the whole of the first week we start? I'd like to see that one, Kirsty.
Yeah, plans for induction are still being finalised, so hopefully we'll have that information for you over the next couple of weeks, so you know when you'll need to be online. But there will be things happening for the duration of that first week, but the timings and what those days will be are still to be confirmed.
That's great, thanks Kirsty. Got an email here from Chloe. Is there any work I could do from home to start preparing for the NC Animal Care course? Kirsty.
Okay. What I would say is that there's not anything specific that you need to be doing at this stage. What we would say is actually enjoy what you've got left of your summer break, because once the course starts, you'll have lots of work to be doing and plenty to keep you busy. But if that's something that you particularly want to start looking at, you can give us an email on the email address at the end, and we can speak to the academic team and see if there's anything that they would suggest you to be reading. But what we would say is don't worry about it. Enjoy the next couple of weeks.
Great advice, thanks Kirsty. I've got another two in now asking about accommodation. Do we know the date that people can move into accommodation? When will we know about the accommodation? Sorry Kirsty, you're going to be busy today.
What I would suggest is, if you haven't already spoken to anyone about accommodation, is you'd want to contact Margaret Paisley. But again, you can email the address at the end, and we can forward that on to Margaret. If you'll get information nearer the time about coming in, but if there's specific reasons that you want to know the date for coming in. And again, it'll need, once you know timetables, that'll depend on when you need to access the residence, but Margaret would be your contact for that. So let us know and we can put it through to Margaret if you don't have her details.
That's great, Kirsty. A question here about timetables. Do we have an idea when we're going to get the timetables through? Okay, Nicola.
Okay, so any information regarding timetables will be issued in induction week. If it's available prior to that, you'll have used the enrolment link, and on there's information about linking in for timetables. So if anything is available prior to induction, then it will go on there. So that's the go-to place to check for information as and when it's available.
Oh, thanks, Nicola. I've got another question here just about induction. I'll just keep you up. It says, does the induction last for the normal 3 days that we will be at college?
Sorry, Caroline, it's just it went. Can you just repeat the question?
Yeah, it's another induction question. I think in the past it's been sort of 3 days full of inductions, but that won't be the case this year, will it?
The timetable will be different this year just because it's online, so we're waiting for full confirmation of exactly how it'll look. But no, I know previously students would have been expected to be in the college for 3 days, but it won't be a physical induction like that, so it'll be online and people will be given the details nearer the time.
Thanks, Nicola.
Can I just add for that as well?
Kirsty?
Yeah, and I think well, also, as Nicola said, you're normally used to being in and it's all live things. For the induction, there'll be a combination of, there will be times given that you'll be asked to go online to do things live, but there'll be lots of recorded information as well that you can access at times that suit you as part of the induction.
Oh, it's really useful to know, isn't it? I've got another one here. Will we be coming into the college this year? As I wasn't sure there'd be students in until 2021. Kirsty, pop you up.
Okay, that is very dependent on the courses. Some courses will have small groups of students coming in to carry out practical work that has to be undertaken. Some classes there won't be any students in for the first block, which is from the end of September to January. So and then in January it will be reviewed for those classes where the students haven't been in. So it's very much an individual basis depending on the course that you're doing, whether you'll be on campus or not. But even if you are coming onto campus for some of these classes, it will be for a much less reduced time as well. So it may be that you're only on for 1 day, 2 days a week, but it's very individual for the courses. If there is specific information that you want to know about that before timetables and things are out, then again email and we can pass that on to individual departments.
Thanks, Kirsty. Yeah, thanks. I've got email here from Owen. He said he's been in touch about bus passes to get to and from college, but hasn't heard anything back yet. Is anybody able to help with that? Thanks, Nicola.
Owen, if we can come back to you via email and just confirm the details, because it varies from person to person with information for bus passes and things. So we'll follow that up with you after this session.
That's great. Thanks, Nicola. Just double check. Just read this one. Oh, somebody's just said they've missed the first 10 minutes and just wanted to ask about timetables. Can I put you on, Kirsty?
Yep, sorry. Yep, timetables will be if there's not information come out beforehand, they'll be confirmed at induction, but on the email that everybody was sent with the enrolment information, there is a link on there, so hopefully that information will be uploaded there before induction, but as soon as that information is available, that's where it will be available first, and if not, it will be at induction. That's
great, thanks. Another question here, I'd like to know if I can get extra time if required to complete coursework due to mental health. I noticed that we've had a few technical issues. We've lost Nikki at the moment, so I'm just going to see if somebody else can help answer that question. Thanks, Kirsty.
Yep, yeah, if you feel that you need any specific requirements for in-class or for exams or assessments, then get in touch with us. If it's something that you have disclosed already on your application or an interview, we do have a list of those students that we're working through, myself, Nicola and Nikki, to contact students just to go through these details, but we are still working our way through that form. If you haven't declared that or things have changed, then you can email us on the email address or fill in on your enrolment. There's a form that was called let me just check, 'cause I want to get it right. Oh, Nicola, what was that form called?
The student support assessment form.
Thank you. So that form was on as part of the enrolment, so you can fill that in, and that comes to myself and Nicola. So again, that would prompt us to get in touch to see what adjustments may be needed. But there will be, it may be that you've had that at school, but the way you'll set assessments for your class in college might be slightly different. So it might be that you've had support or adjustments made at school that you might not necessarily need when you're with us, but we can discuss that. So as I said, we will be getting in touch with people, but if not, you can get in touch with us, we can have a chat about it, and these things can be looked at on an individual basis. But if that's something that is required, we can put all that in place.
That's great, thanks Kirsty. Another one here, is there any social media groups or chats where we can talk to people on our course? Nicola, can I put that question through to you?
Hi, yeah, if it's people on your course, then you'll be linked in via your course tutor, and we'll also have a students association who will be looking to set up things. They'll be running things throughout the induction week. But if you've got anything in particular that you know, people that you're wanting to link in with, maybe it's like a specific interest group or things like that, again, let us know, and then we can forward that information on to our students association in advance.
Thanks, Nicola. I've got a couple of finance questions have come through, very specific to the individuals. Have you got any advice on the finance front?
If they are particular or specific things for individual people, if you can forward those on, Caroline, and then we can reply directly rather than discussing personal, you know, finances and things in a forum such as this.
No problem, we'll do that. Let me just see. Here's something quite practical. Is there on-site parking for students at Elmwood? Okay, Kirsty.
Yes, yes, there's a large car park, so parking is not an issue for students. But depending on what course you're going to be doing, there are a couple of different car parks, and what we're trying to do this year is so that if, for instance, you're coming to do horticulture, there is a car park that is nearer horticulture. So we are asking all the students who are accessing that area of the college to park there, so that we're trying to keep each group within their own kind of area of the college. But there's plenty of parking on site.
That's great. I've got a couple of questions here about one saying when will we find out about funding if our bursary application's been successful, and another one, yeah, they've applied for funding, when should they expect to hear about it? Just pop you up, Nicola.
So The funding team are working through all the online applications. I know they have quite a number of applications and they're usually processed in the order that they're received. So as soon as there's any information, they will come back to you and let you know. This is the first year that we've done the online application because it's usually a paper-based application. So hopefully that will speed things up a wee bit because it is different to usual, but they are working through them at the moment.
That's great. Got another question here about accommodation. When I'm given accommodation, will that be my room only, or will the rooms be switched about for other people when I'm doing home learning? Can anyone help with that one? Thanks, Kirsty.
At the moment, what the guidance is for the halls is that it won't necessarily be your room. Depending on numbers that are coming in, the rooms will be getting changed round. They'll be getting deep cleaned between students staying in it. So there would be no guarantee that the room that you're coming into would be the same room that you'd be into the next time. And that's just due to because we're using less rooms. Well, we're using more rooms, but it's less students at a time. So we're having to turn around the rooms for people to stay in and make sure that they're all cleaned and everything's all safe for students. But if there is a particular reason why you would need to have the same room every time you came, or there was something else that you wanted us to know about, again, get in touch and we can have a chat, or we can pass it on to Margaret, and of course we'll look at individual circumstances if needed.
That's great.
Sorry, Caroline.
Oh, sorry.
I just had another thought on that question. If the reason that you're asking that question is about bringing belongings, what we're asking students is that you would only bring what you need for that stay, and not that to ask for a room because you want to leave things when you're here. Because the cleaning team are needing to go in to deep clean the rooms, then we need them to be empty every time people are coming and going.
That's great. Got one for professional cookery here. Should I bring my own knives and stuff like that into college? Does anybody like to take that question? Thanks, Kirsty.
I will, but the quick answer is I don't know. Normally we would, because students would be bringing in all their their own knives if they've got them. But I don't know whether there will be changes to that this year or not. So what we can do is, if we've got the student who was asking that question's details from you, Caroline, we can ask the team and we can get back to you about that.
That's great. I've got a couple here from a gamekeeper and somebody else as well. Just wanting to clarify, induction, is it all online, or will there be any activity in the college? Thanks, Nicola.
So the induction will be all online this year. There's no physical things happening in the college. It will be all online.
That's great. I've got a question. I'll just keep you up because I think you might be the right person, Nicola, for this one. When will we be able to use the college facilities like the gym?
As of yet, I'm not aware. I'll just see if anybody else in the team has heard anything, but as far as I'm aware, we haven't got any dates as of yet as to when we can use the college gym. Anybody correct me if I'm wrong there, if you've heard any different?
No, nothing.
And also along the sort of similar lines, what type of extracurricular activities do we have at the college?
Those would be best directed to the Students Association team. It's SRUC. They'll have information during the induction. If there's things, as I mentioned before, if there's things that are not in place that you would like to have in place, then that would be the team to speak to, but they'll be able to give more information about anything that's extracurricular at the moment with the new ways of working.
That's great. Another question, I suppose this one would depend on what course it is you're doing, but what kind of clothes do we need to wear to college? Thanks, Kirsty.
Yeah, depending on your course. The courses where you're coming in to do practical work, you will have specific PPE that is required for you to to get, but that is all done as part of your enrolment, and will all be sent, all that information will be sent out to you, and there'll be a form online to fill in, and that goes to gutteries who provide the clothing for students. This year it will work slightly differently to how it's worked other years, and clothing will be sent directly to your home, and then if things need returned, it'll be sent back. But we've been assured that the process is very straightforward, so that if there are issues with sizing or clothing that you've had and it needs to be changed, it should be fairly straightforward for you to get that changed. But what we also would suggest is that if you're coming to do a course like horticulture or land-based or gamekeeping, where you're going to be outside lots, to make sure that you do have plenty of layers, wear warm fleeces, because you are going to be outside probably much more this year than previously, so you'll be outside in all weather, so just make sure that you're prepared for all weathers.
That's very good advice. I can hear the rain where I am just now. I've got another question here. Somebody's recently moved house, and they're asking if they need to send a copy of their new agreement to update a bursary application. Would anybody? I'll just pop Nicola up. Thank you.
Sorry, my internet is very slow. I think I caught the question. Is it that somebody's moved house and do they need to send in new details of an agreement?
Yes.
Okay, again, if we can get that person's details, and then I'll follow up with them offline.
Okay, so if you just get in touch, if you want to even reply to the email that I've sent out inviting you to this event, just do that, because I know you've just put yourself through as anonymous. So yeah, do get in touch, that'd be great. I'm just going to see. Oh, somebody's asking, when would the earliest time be to contact the office? So I'm assuming to speak to one of you four. So when, but Kirsty, just pop you through.
You can contact us as soon as this is finished. Once you get the email address, just get in touch with us, and one of us will contact you back. And yeah, we can have a chat.
That's great. I've got a question here about somebody who's having problems sending through their photo for their student ID, and was wondering if it's okay to send these photos into one of yourselves or into the campus. But it's maybe more of an IT issue there. If people are, I know there's been a few people having problems logging on. I think we've got a number for that, haven't we, Nicola?
I'll give two things. One is the enrolment number, which is 0131 535 4200, or our IT help desk number is 0131 535 4444.
That's great. They're going to be busy, I think. The next one. Oh, I think we've got one for you here, Sam. If I wanted to speak to a counsellor through the year, how would I book an appointment?
So, for us, it's a real priority that we limit the barriers when it comes to accessing student support in general, but counselling as well with myself. So just send an email in asking that you'd like to book an appointment and you'd like to see myself, and it's as simple as that. Then obviously we've been told at the moment that the majority of our time spent with you will be via this platform online, so on Teams. So it will most likely be sort of an online video session. But again, our priority is making sure that you feel that the service is accessible. So if you've got any anxieties around, having a session on video like this, and you'd rather have an initial meeting in person, then of course we would do our best to try and make that a reality. But yeah, it's as simple as just getting in touch. Just send an email to the student support, and then one of us would pick it up.
That's good advice. Thanks, Sam. We've got somebody musical's been in touch. I play a musical instrument. Will I be able to practice in the accommodation rooms? Not had this one before. Would anyone like to take that?
Okay, that's you one.
Thanks, Kirsty.
Yeah, that's a first. I don't see it being an issue. I think probably we maybe want to ask what kind of instrument is it? If it's bagpipes, that's okay. But they may have to be, time put in that when's appropriate to play your instrument and when's not, but I'm sure that's something that could be accommodated. You never know, we might be able to put a band together, socially distanced band.
Oh, I'll be interested to hear that. So the next question I've got is, what will the online classes be on? Is there any software or apps that we should download in advance? Thanks, Nikki. Welcome back, by the way. I know you're having problems.
I'm not sure what happened. I kind of disappeared for a little while, so apologies. Yeah, so most of the classes will run on something called Big Blue Button, which if you've been a student of ours before, you'll know about Moodle, and that's where Big Blue Button is. That's just our virtual learning environment. That's just web-based, so you don't need any special software to access that. Some tutors might use Teams to run classes, but the advice that we're being given is that most classes should be running on Big Blue Button. So yeah, you shouldn't need to download anything at all. Just access your Moodle course in the same way as you normally would, and there should be a Big Blue Button quite easily accessible on your screen, and you should just click that and you'd be invited to join the classroom. You'll be given a lot of advice on things like that during your induction week.
That's great, thanks, Nikki. Says here, if we have to go into the college, what would be the earliest to go in? I'm assuming that would be very much dependent on the different subjects. Thanks, Nikki. Nicola, looking up.
The earliest that the actual physical teaching would start would be the week commencing the 28th of September, but you'll find out in the week commencing the 21st of September when it is that your group will be in. Kirsty mentioned before that some of the groups maybe won't be going in at all for the first, the first block, so it will be very much dependent on the course that you're on, but the 28th would be the very earliest that anybody would be in.
That's great. I've got a question here. Somebody's apologising.
Sorry,
Nikki, pop you through. I'm too busy getting through all these questions. Sorry.
Kirsty and I are maybe just thinking the same thing here. We're just wondering, did that student mean what is the earliest time in the day to come into college? So I'm going to have to pass it back because I'm not sure what times the door opens for college, but it might be like 8:30 in the morning. But yeah, I'm going to turn that back to Nicola and hope that she can answer that bit. Sorry, Nicola.
Thank you. I'm not entirely sure what time the door will be opening in the morning. That again is something, if that student in particular wants to let us know, if it's maybe that a train, if it is the time of day rather than the week, if it's that your transport gets you in at a certain time, then speak with us. If it's that you're going to be arriving at say like 7:30, that's the only time that your bus or train would get you in, then let us know. Or it might be that you're arriving into accommodation. I didn't know whether that was the other question or the other side of that question.
Can I also add to that? If it is what time of day in the morning, it may be that because there's going to be like a kind of break room for classes in each area, so there won't be, if you've been at the college before, it won't be the same as you can just come in and there'll be areas you can just go to. There'll be specific areas for specific classes to have their breaks and things in. So it may be that is a discussion could be had with departments, if it is something that when you're arriving on campus early before class time, where can you go before the class time? The other thing I wasn't sure if maybe it was referring to was if somebody was actually thinking they wanted to come in to speak to a member of staff even between now and induction. And it was just to, make sure that people know that there's no staff at the moment working on campus. Everybody is still working from home. So if there is somebody, whether it's ourselves or one of the other teams that you want to speak to, it would be to email them or email us, and we can get that information passed on. But yeah, there isn't anybody on campus at the moment if you were thinking about just popping in to speak to somebody.
Okay, thanks, Kirsty. Somebody's apologising for joining later. That's polite. They're looking for help, I think, to fill out forms. Is that something that we can help with, Nicola, to do with funding and tuition fees?
Yes, if that person's details, if you've got them, then we can make contact. They can make contact with us, whichever's easiest, and we can find out which forms and whether it would be us or whether there's a more appropriate person who could do it. But absolutely, we can help with that.
That's great, thank you. Next one is it possible to remain in the building after the teaching day ends to access the internet, etc.? Would anyone like to take that?
I was going to pass that to Nikki because that might come under library, but that'll be up due to library hours.
Yeah, I haven't heard that it's going to be possible to remain in the building after teaching hours. I would highly doubt it because of the COVID restrictions. We can't have students in the building if there are no staff to make sure that social distances are maintained, etc. So it's unlikely that you'll be able to stay in the building post the end of your class. In terms of the library, I haven't been made aware that they're going to have any late openings, and it looks unlikely, again, because of social distancing. Everyone's having to work on rota systems, etc. So the whole setup is very different this year to last year. So it looks unlikely, but again, we'll be able to give you further information on that during your induction week, if things have perhaps changed by that point.
If it was a student who was like only in class for half a day, how would they be able to access the library for the other half, like if it was during normal college hours?
Okay, so that's back to me. Right, yeah, right. So if a student's in a class for a morning, which I have to say is probably quite unlikely because students are, if they're brought into campus, they're more likely to be in class all day. However, if that did arise as a situation, you can't just drop into the library this year like you would have done in the past. So you can't just say, right, I've finished my lunch, I'm going to go to the library and spend the afternoon in there. What you need to do is you need to book a space in the library. And that's really so that the librarians can make sure there's not too many students in it for social distancing, and so they can make sure all the desks, etc., are wiped down and cleaned and disinfected between students. So yeah, what you would need to do is you would need to book an appointment with the librarians. It's called Click and Sit, and they will allocate you a space for a certain amount of time that you could then spend the afternoon in the library, or at least maybe an hour in the library.
That's really good. That's good advice there. I've got one here regarding counselling. It says, does my course tutor need to know about my counselling session? Put that on to you, Sam.
So the answer to that is absolutely not. So unless you have specifically asked me to pass on information to somebody, if you felt, for example, and you communicated it explicitly that it would actually be helpful for you if your tutor was brought in on any information, but unless out with that circumstance, then absolutely not. Whatever you want to talk about is initially just considered completely confidential, and that space during that counselling session is very much your space. It's your space to talk about what you feel you need to talk about, and none of that information gets passed on unless you make that decision yourself and you explicitly tell me that you'd like it to be passed on.
That's great, thanks, Sam. Another question here: if I'm struggling for money during my time at college, is there somebody I can speak to about this? Okay, Nicola.
Yep. Pop in and see us. We have a discretionary fund that we can give you when I say pop in and see us, that would be virtually. Or it would be college direct you to the forms and things online to apply for a discretionary fund.
That's great, thank you, Nicola. If I'm staying in the residence, will I need to change my GP? Kirsty, help with that one.
Okay, I would say if it's somebody who has stayed before, you've probably been told that yes, you do. But for this year, we would be saying that you don't, because of the nature of how the residents will be working this year. It'll be a case of you'll just be coming in and booking in for the nights. You need to stay when you're doing your practical classes. That there won't be very many, if any at all, students who'll be coming to stay right the way through the year. And that's not to say that if that is what you need, that can't be put in place. So for those who are just coming and staying a couple of nights, then you don't need to re-register with the doctor in Cooper. If you are staying and you are staying a couple of nights and there is a medical reason and you do need to see the doctor, you become unwell when you're staying with us, then we can help support you to do that. You can still access the local doctor on a emergency appointment or and as a visiting patient, so it wouldn't stop you being able to access medical help if needed.
That's good advice there. The next one I've got is I had the option of doing 2 different courses at the college. Is there anything I can do if I think I've chosen the wrong one? Nicola?
Again, pop in and speak to us if you feel that you've chosen the wrong course. We would recommend that you also speak to your course tutor. Moving courses would really depend on what spaces there are on another course that you're doing, or potentially looking at some of the reasons why you're thinking you're on the wrong course and chatting through those. But the key is to speak to us, speak to your tutor, and then we can work with you on that.
Great. One here, I think for you, Nikki. Can you help me apply for DSA?
Yes, of course. So I guess a lot of students that are listening might not be aware of what DSA is, so I'll quickly explain what that is. That's a Disabled Students Allowance, and that's a fund that students can be eligible for to apply for equipment or one-to-one support if they have a specific difficulty or disability. But students need to be studying an HNC or an HND course for that. So if anyone's sitting there thinking, oh, I might apply for that, if you're not on an HNC or an HND course, unfortunately, you can't apply. However, yes, if you've got a disability and you're on an HN course, then yes, you can absolutely come to us and get help to apply. We've already been in contact with a lot of students for whom this would be the case, and we're kind of slowly working through the list of students. But if we've not got in touch with you and you're thinking that you maybe fall into that category, get in touch with us, because maybe that we're not aware that you've got a disability. But yeah, that's no problem to help you with the paperwork for that.
Thanks, Nikki. Another question here. What do I have to talk about in a counselling session?
So the answer to that is nothing. So again, that space in a counselling session, that space is yours. You can take as much time as you need and as much space as you need to figure things out slowly at your own pace. And I'll be there just to sort of facilitate that space and support you through that. So I'm not going to be interrogating you or pressuring you into talking about anything you don't want to talk about or that you're not ready to talk about. So even if you just needed a counselling session just to take a breather and just kind of escape from all the stresses of day-to-day life, and you just needed that private space just to try and gather yourself. So the answer to that is nothing. You'll never be forced into answering any questions or talking about anything that you're not ready to talk about.
That's great, thanks Sam. The next one here, I think for Kirsty, do I need to wear a face covering when I'm in college?
Okay. Yeah, well, the guidance, as everybody knows, the guidance is changing all the time. So what SRUC are doing is we're not putting out anything yet about what we're expecting students to do or not do regarding face coverings. That information will come out near the time that you're due to start, so that we can be most up to date with the government guidance. But what I would say is that I would expect most students probably would have some kind of face covering with them anyway, because if you're travelling to college on public transport, or you're intending to nip to the shops at lunchtime, or on your way up or down the road from the train station or the bus, you would need a face covering anyway. But the specifics for what will or will not be required in college will come to you just before you're due to start.
That's great. I've got a couple in about accommodation. Somebody's doing an apprenticeship, the golf course, and is wondering if it's possible to stay at the residence. Sorry, greenkeeping, that is. And somebody else is asking about booking times, how you go about booking times with the college accommodation. Thanks, Kirsty.
I would say for both of these, yes, for the student who's doing greenkeeping, that shouldn't be an issue to be able to book out the residence. And for the actual booking, that would be Margaret Paisley that would be the contact for that. So if you don't have her details, again, if you just want to, I mean, we can, Caroline, if you've got their details, we can send Margaret's email straight to them, or if not, just email the support address and we can either forward it on to Margaret, or we'll send you back Margaret's contact.
That's great, thanks, Kirsty. Got here, what steps are the college taking to keep the campus safe for us? Thanks, Nicola.
Okay, I'm assuming this is in terms of COVID and those changes. So just the things that I mentioned before about the blended learning and how not all the lessons are going to be taking place on the campus. So you'll be coming on for limited times and in much smaller groups than you would ordinarily have been in. We've got things in place such as like a one-way system. There's hand sanitizers that are in situ around the college. Kirsty's mentioned like groups will be trying to be kept just to their particular areas rather than everybody gathering in one place, maybe during like downtimes. If you've got any questions or you want to look at more information, as part of the enrolment, there is a COVID frequently asked questions section on there. So if you go back to the enrolment details and click on that link, that will give you more information there. One other thing is the toilet. So say for 3 cubicles in one toilet. I can't think of the word, one toilet block. It would just be one person going in at one time rather than all those 3 being in use. But updates on things, as Kirsty said, face coverings and any essential information will come out just before you're starting. But I hope that gives you an idea of the things that are working and we're working on in the background.
I think we missed the very start of your reply about the toilet, Nicola. So it was just that the bit that was missed off was that there is a lock now on the inside of the entry door. So that's how it'll be one person in each set of toilets rather than the individual cubicles.
Thanks for clearing that up, Kirsty. I've got a question here. When will we get our student ID cards? Can anybody help with that one? I think they're after a discount in the shops myself. Thanks, Kirsty.
Again, and I don't know, I can't give a specific date for when they'll be coming out, but they are, whereas if it's a student who has been with us before, you'll know that it used to be done that they were produced in the college and you would just come into the support office and pick it up. This year it's getting done by a separate company who are doing it off-site, and they'll be getting posted to students directly to your home address. So hopefully, I know that the deadline for photos was the 31st of August, so I think that's probably a kind of indication of they would now begin to get processed, because that was for the photos for the ID. So hopefully it'll be over the next few weeks you'll be getting them sent out to your home addresses.
Okay, thanks, Kirsty. Next one says, what happens if I miss an appointment with somebody from the support team? It's Kirsty.
Okay, I would say if you do miss your appointment, that's okay. We know that things happen, you know, people forget, things come up, depending on what the appointment's for. It might be about how you're feeling about the appointment. So if you do have an appointment with any one of us and for whatever reason you miss it, don't worry about it. You get in touch with us to rearrange. We'll probably get in touch with you, you know, if we're planning to see you and you didn't turn up. Don't ignore the phone call, because we're not going to have a go at you. We're not going to be upset about it. We'll just rearrange it for another time. Okay.
Great, thanks, Kirsty. That's reassuring as well. I've got another question. Can I have help with my coursework? That one to Nikki.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, Kirsty and I are both available to help with coursework, even if it's just a case of you don't know where to start, or you maybe don't understand the question that the tutor's given you for an essay or whatever. Get in touch with Kirsty and I. It'll be online remote support like we're doing today, but we can share screens. You can type your essay and we can, you know, guide you in the right direction, or we can proofread things for you, or we can put you in the right direction in terms of your research and things. That's not a problem. Just get in touch with us as soon as you know that you need help with the coursework.
That's great. I've had a question on the back of the ID cards. What can we use the student ID cards for, as well as a student discount? Nicola, are you able to?
Yeah, student discounts, that would be linking in with the Students' Association, who would be able to give you more information about the discounts and things that you can offer, that we offer on those. Sometimes the cards, depending on buses, will have like a travel part of the card as well. And you'll use them to, as far as I'm aware, you'll be using them as well to swipe in and out for things like library resources and things such as that. So it's important that you keep hold of it, and there is a charge for a replacement one, so I would definitely keep hold of it.
That's great, thank you. Got one here. Sometimes I suffer from anxiety. Where can I go if I need to get out of the class because I'm not coping? Thanks, Kirsty.
Okay, excuse me. Yeah, that's not a problem. You know, we often have lots of students who feel at different times, you know, if things, for lots of different reasons, that maybe they're just not coping in the class that they're in. So it's fine to come out of the class. What we're going to be looking at is having quiet areas in each area that you're working in. Again, if you're a returning student, you'll know we had specific areas you could come to, but what we're trying to do is keeping all your groups in your own areas. So we'll try and find a space within each area you're working in that could almost be like a breakout space that you can come out to if you are struggling for whatever reason while you're on campus. Excuse me, as there's also going to be one of us available, do you know, we're about as well to have a chat. If it's a day that Sam's about on campus and he's free, he'll be able to have a chat with you as well. So yeah, there's lots of things we can put in place, and not to worry if that's something you do need to do.
Yes, yeah. So just if I was adding on to that, so even though, like we said, you know, a counselling session would normally try and book an appointment, but absolutely, if I happen to be free in that moment and had a free you know, a free sort of half an hour even, then yeah, absolutely, you know, I'd be very happy to see somebody, even if it was sort of a spontaneous appointment rather than a booked one, if it was necessary.
Great, thanks, Sam. And just on the back of that, the next question is, how long does a counselling session usually last?
So we've maximum would be 55 minutes. So that means you have the option of having pretty much the whole hour, so that you've got plenty of time to kind of navigate through your thoughts and through your concerns and your emotions, and then it just gives me that 5 minutes at the end, in case I've got somebody coming in for another appointment straight after. But that 55 minutes is a maximum, so that doesn't mean you're forced into sitting in the room for a full 55 minutes. If it's just 15 minutes or just half an hour that you want to be in there, then that's absolutely fine as well.
That's great. And also, will the sessions be taking place on campus, Sam?
So again, we've been told at the moment that we have to try and work remotely. So the sessions will most likely be via this platform on Teams, in the form of a video call. But I completely understand that, you know, a video call session might cause some of us, you know, a lot of anxiety. It's quite a kind of a scary thing to do. So we don't want to put those kind of barriers in place, because obviously your mental well-being is a priority for us. So if it would be more helpful to have at least an initial meeting face to face, if that would sort of make you feel more comfortable, because it can be quite a scary thing to do, then we would try and make that a reality. But most of the sessions most likely will be via this platform at the moment.
That's great, thank you. Oh, Claire, girl after my own heart, will the cafe canteen be available? Nicola, have you got any news on that?
Yes, the full details of the refectory opening hours and what they can offer will be again given at induction, but it's more if it's a student who's returning, where you've previously been in, got your food, sat down, there's been hot meals and things, it won't run like that. It won't look like that initially, certainly. It's going to be more of a grab and go option, and as Kirsty's mentioned, it's going to be more breakout areas for specific groups rather than everybody between the departments. Is it
You're cutting out
sticking again? Yeah. What did you hear and what did you not hear?
I think breakout groups you were talking about.
Yes, so rather than everybody, say animal, say maybe like horticulture and gamekeepers all in a refectory together, it won't look like this year. It will be that each group have their own specific area that they would get the food and then take it back to, rather than everybody being in together.
That's great, thank you. We've had a horticulture student's been in touch. Will we get gloves, etc. provided for us on our course? Thanks, Kirsty.
Yes, gloves will be provided as part of your PPE, whereas I'm not sure how many pairs you normally got issued with, but you are going to be issued with, I think it's maybe 3 pairs this year, because it's very important that you have your gloves this year. I know that before it used to be that there was a big bucket of spare PPE and things, and if you left your gloves at home or you lost them, you could just take an extra pair out for that day. But we're not going to be able to do that this year, because everybody's going to have, you know, their own equipment, and that's what they use. And specifically because when you're going to be handling equipment and things, you have to have your gloves to be doing that. So it's really important that the gloves that you get this year, you keep hold of them and you know where they are, because it's not going to be as easy to get an extra pair if they get lost.
Great, thanks Kirsty. Well, that brings our questions to an end. So if you have got in touch this afternoon, thank you very much. We hope that our answers helped make things a little bit easier, and it was a bit, you know, hope we explained the situation a little bit better. I'm just now going to pass to Kirsty, who's going to just close the event for us. Don't know if you can see that. It seems to be really quite small, Kirsty.
Yes, I know. Apologies. I don't know why it's this small. It wasn't this small earlier on. And I'm just concerned if I click another button, it's going to disappear completely. So hopefully you can see it, but this has got our names on it, and it's got the support email address that we've referred to kind of throughout this. So that's elmwoodstudentsupport@sruc.ac.uk, and if you email any questions or any queries you have to that address, one of us will get back to you, or we'll send it on to the relevant person.
That's great. Thanks, Kirsty, and thanks for joining us this afternoon, and hope to see you on campus soon.